The day I found out my own parents had forged my name to steal my grandfather's inheritance was the same day I realized I didn't actually have a family. I had enemies who shared my blood. And if that wasn't twisted enough, they had the audacity to drag me into court and accuse me of defamation just because I told the truth. So tell me honestly, if you discovered your parents had faked your signature to rob your dying grandfather, would you stay quiet to keep the peace? Or would you burn everything down to protect his legacy? Because I chose to fight, and it cost me almost everything. My grandfather wasn't just some distant relative I saw on holidays. He basically raised me. My parents were always busy. That's the word they used. Busy with work, busy with friends, busy with anything that didn't involve being present. So most of my childhood, afternoons were spent at Grandpa's small brick house on the edge of town. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to plant tomatoes in the backyard, how to change a tire, and most importantly, how to keep my word. He used to say, "Your name is the only thing no one can take from you unless you give it away." The irony of that statement still makes my stomach turn. Grandpa wasn't rich in a flashy way. He didn't drive luxury cars or wear expensive watches, but he owned his house outright, had farmland that had steadily increased in value, and a modest but solid savings account from decades of careful living. Everyone in the family knew that when he passed, there would be a decent inheritance. Not millions, but enough to change someone's life. When Grandpa got sick, it happened fast. Lung cancer. Late stage. By the time doctors found it, there wasn't much they could do. I was 26 at the time, working my first stable job, trying to build something for myself. My parents suddenly started visiting him constantly, bringing him meals, offering to handle paperwork, insisting they would take care of everything. At the time, I thought maybe grief had softened them. Maybe they were finally stepping up. I should have known better. One evening, about 3 months before Grandpa passed, my mom called me in an unusually sweet voice. "Honey, Grandpa wants to update his will. It's just paperwork stuff. We're all going to sign some documents to make it easier later. Can you come by tomorrow?" Something about her tone felt rehearsed. But I trusted Grandpa. If he wanted me there, I'd be there. When I arrived, the vibe was off. My dad avoided eye contact. My mom kept smiling too much. There were papers spread across the dining table. But Grandpa looked exhausted, almost confused. He squeezed my hand and whispered, "I already told them what I wanted." That sentence didn't hit me properly until months later. My dad slid a document toward me. "It's just acknowledging you're okay with the distribution. Grandpa wants everything simple." I skimmed it, but it was filled with legal jargon. I asked, "Can I take this to a lawyer to review?" My mom's smile vanished for half a second before snapping back. "Why would you do that? Don't you trust us?" That question has haunted me ever since. I told them I wasn't comfortable signing something I didn't fully understand. Grandpa looked at me, and I swear I saw relief in his eyes. I left without signing anything. My mom didn't hug me goodbye. Grandpa passed away 2 months later. The funeral was a blur of tears and forced politeness. I was devastated. He had been my safe place. After the burial, my parents informed me the will had been finalized and processed. Grandpa decided to leave the house and farmland to us, my dad said casually, like he was announcing a grocery list. "You'll get a small cash portion. It's what he wanted." I felt something twist in my chest. That didn't sound like Grandpa. He had told me many times that he wanted the farmland to stay in my name, because I was the only one who actually cared about it. But I didn't want to believe my parents would lie about something like that. A week later, I received a copy of the will in the mail. My signature was on it, clear as day, except I never signed it. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the papers. They had forged my name on a document that essentially stated, I agreed to relinquish my claim to the main assets. According to this version of events, I had willingly stepped aside so my parents could inherit everything major. I confronted them immediately. I drove to their house, walked in without knocking, and slapped the document on the kitchen counter. "Explain this," I demanded. My mom didn't even look surprised. My dad sighed like I was being dramatic. "You did sign," he insisted. "You just don't remember." It was an emotional time. Gaslighting, straight to my face. "I never signed this," I said. "And if you think I'm going to let this go, you're insane." That's when the threat started. "Don't tear this family apart over money," my mom snapped. "Your grandfather wanted us to have stability." My dad added, "If you challenge this, you'll regret it." I left shaking with anger and grief. It wasn't about the money. It was about Grandpa's wishes. It was about my name. They had taken the one thing he said no one could steal. I hired a lawyer. It drained my savings, but I didn't care. We had the signature analyzed by a forensic handwriting expert. The results were clear. It was forged. Not even a particularly skilled forgery. When my parents were notified of the investigation, they went nuclear. Instead of admitting anything, they filed a lawsuit against me for defamation and emotional distress. They claimed I was spreading lies that damaged their reputation in the community. They told extended family members that I was greedy and unstable. And here's where I want you to pause for a second. Imagine this. Your own parents steal from you, forge your signature, and when you try to defend yourself, they drag you into court and paint you as the villain. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you drop it to avoid the stress, or would you fight, even if it meant publicly exposing your family? Because I chose to fight. Court was brutal. Sitting across from my parents, listening to their lawyer, described me as financially desperate, and manipulative felt surreal. My mom cried on the stand, saying she couldn't believe her own child would accuse her of forgery. My dad looked disappointed, like I was a rebellious teenager instead of a grown adult demanding justice. But then our expert testified. He broke down the inconsistencies in the signature, the pressure points, the letter formations. He explained how the ink dated differently than the rest of the document. It was meticulous, scientific, undeniable. Then came the bombshell. My lawyer had subpoenaed security footage from a bank where some of the paperwork had been notarized. The footage showed my parents meeting with the notary alone, on a day I was at work, miles away. The courtroom went silent when that clip played. My mom's tears stopped. My dad wouldn't look at me. The judge ordered a deeper investigation. Within weeks, the truth was official. The signature was forged. The will was declared invalid. The previous version, one Grandpa had signed a year earlier, was reinstated. In that version, the farmland and house were left primarily to me, with a smaller but fair portion to my parents. Their defamation case collapsed instantly. But winning didn't feel the way I imagined. There was no triumphant music, no dramatic apology, just silence. My parents didn't speak to me after the ruling. They moved out of the house quietly before the property transfer finalized. Word spread through the family about what they'd done. Some relatives reached out to apologize for doubting me. Others stayed quiet, probably embarrassed they'd believed my parents' version so easily. I moved into Grandpa's house a month later. The first night there, I sat on his old porch swing and cried. Not because I had won, but because I had lost any illusion that my parents loved me unconditionally. The farmland is still in my name. I kept Grandpa's garden alive. I framed the original will, the real one, and locked it in a safe. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I've learned that even the people closest to you can betray you when money is involved. As for my parents, we don't talk. They tried reaching out once through a cousin, suggesting we move on. But moving on doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. They didn't just try to steal property, they tried to steal my integrity. They used my name like it was a tool. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Protecting your peace sometimes means exposing the truth, even when it's ugly. Family isn't defined by shared DNA. It's defined by loyalty, honesty, and respect. So was I wrong for taking them to court? Was I wrong for refusing to stay silent? I don't think so. I think Grandpa would have been proud that I defended his wishes in my name. If you were on my side, like this video, if you think I should have handled it differently, tell me why in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if you want to hear more real, messy, unbelievable stories like this, make sure you subscribe. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess below. I'll see you all in the next story.